Hi, this is Diana Hamilton, and you're listening to Springboard, your virtual university. Stay tuned.
Hello and welcome to Springboard, your virtual university. My name is Albert Okran, welcoming you on behalf of Team Springboard, ably led by Comfort. This is your most inspirational show and the point of convergence for the greatest minds. Springboard is brought to you by the Springboard Ratio Foundation in partnership with the Multimedia Group and proudly sponsored by MTN Pulse, the Enterprise Group, UMB Bank, with media support from the Graphic Communications Group. Last week we began this very exciting series called The Engine Room, getting behind the scenes with frontliners in various fields, trying to find out the hows, the whys, the joys, the tears, and the tough calls that characterize their work. We began with Diana Hamilton, the VGMA Artist of the Year, and today we move on to a man who you will know if you are on this network. He's the regular business news analyst for the BBC World Services Business News Radio broadcast, CNN Stringer, the youngest moderator in the 2008 Ghana presidential election debate. And you're asking me, who is this I'm talking about? I'm talking about multimedia's own Israel Laryea. Israel, good to see you.
Good to see you too, Reverend.
I've waited for this interview for you. Oh no, Albert is fine. Albert is 100% fine. I've waited for this interview for years for reasons that are best known to myself and maybe to you.
Okay.
Thanks for coming.
And thanks for having me too. I mean, it's an honor to be on the, Springboard Virtual University.
Right. So we want to get behind the scenes today, and the reason is very simple. Many people see on the screen, nicely done up, presenting the news, what people want to hear, but we want to find out what goes into the work. What happens behind, how much pain you have to carry to make that 30-minute or 1 hour or 2 hour broadcast so beautiful. It's a difficult job being a journalist.
It is, in some sense, yes, because you have to find a fine balance. You have to last this long and to be this relevant all this while. It takes quite a bit of grace. And some sacrifice. Lots of sacrifices, actually.
Let's unpack the sacrifices. Let's help us understand. Break it down for that young person going to first year at GIG, that person who's trying to find their way around in their career choices. Help us understand language, posture, voice training. Help us to understand some of the preparatory steps that one needs to take to even be on the set.
Right. So fortunately for me, I had a good voice, and I discovered that much earlier on. Now, beyond that, we're also looking at, I just didn't take it for granted that I had a good voice, and so that was it. But my sister, my elder sister, at the time introduced me to the BBC. She didn't introduce me to the BBC as in, listen to the BBC, I want you to become a broadcaster. I just heard her, realized that she was listening to the BBC, and I was like, okay, this is refreshing. And this was at the time when everybody else, we didn't have many options in Ghana. We had GBC. I don't think FM was even then at the time. We're using shortwave. So GBC 1, GBC 2.
Wow.
And then I chanced on my sister listening to the BBC. I'm like, okay.
Sounds interesting.
Yeah, that sounds interesting. And BBC is also about, it's about world news, things happening around the world. And at the same time, it's also very informative. You pick up a lot of knowledge. And at that age, I was interested in learning.
How old were you then?
I'm talking about 11, 12.
Interesting for the purpose of getting people an idea about when these interests begin to emerge. At 11, 12?
Yeah.
Right.
So I was interested in encyclopedias.
Right.
My granddad had lots of these encyclopedias, and I picked them and read them. Okay, this is interesting.
But that's not common. What were your favorite subjects in school?
At the time in school, I really didn't care about what my favorite subjects.
Did you like English?
I did. Yes.
History?
No history.
Current affairs?
None of them. I was just a child.
Right.
Just being a child.
That's comforting for parents who worry about their children not knowing their favorite subjects.
Yeah, I was just being a child at the time.
Right.
And things that, I encountered that I thought were interesting, yes, I'll go along with it.
Why
so,
not?
yes. But it was for me an opportunity to learn and get to acquire a lot of knowledge. And so, yeah.
So the BBC
thing. Then later on in life, or when I started, or let me just backtrack a little. I read this book by Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Okay.
That was a turning point in my life. It was a real turning point in my life. My perspective on life changed. I saw things very differently, and I didn't have that much confidence at the time. I grew up as the only boy amongst 3 girls. I have only sisters. And in school, they would tease me and say, you know, you're girly, you're... So at some point, I decided, no, let me move away from my sisters. Let me be independent. Let me hang out with my friends. Let me not mingle with my sisters.
Were you made to feel it was wrong to be surrounded by girls?
Yes, it was like, if you're with all girls and you're weak, sort of.
But those are some of the socializations that really affect people. And I can just imagine that at that young age, it was quite difficult to cope with.
But then not so difficult, but I just made a conscious effort. Okay, if that's the case, then let me just go this way. So then I stayed away. I spent less time with the girls. And we're fighting all the time. And they were beating me. And yeah, but I just stayed away as much as possible. It was just, like I rebelled, sort of. And I had to stay away from them, hanging with my friends and all. And yes, I play football in the next house. And when I get to know that my parents are coming, back then, where our parents were working in institutions where they would drop them off.
Right.
So you know that your mom's office car is coming, and somebody will hint you. Then you
probably whistle or something. And then
you run, jump the wall into the house, and go and bath so that when they come, they won't see that. So yeah, I did all of that, and it was.
Your children are listening.
So yeah, I mean, that was that at the time. So I made a conscious effort to stay away from the girls. So after reading that book, and yes, my self-esteem went down. I thought I wasn't so handsome, and so it affected my self-esteem. Then when I read Dale Carnegie's book, I was like, okay, it's important to be confident, because it is what you put out to others that others make of you, or how you present yourself that others, what it is that you tell people that, this is the way I'm presenting myself, and that's how they buy you. So let me make a conscious effort to adopt some of the learnings in the book and be confident. One of the things I got to do was buy this camera. And at the time, it was cheap. You put the film in.
Right.
It wasn't a digital camera.
Right.
You put the film in, and then, I took lots of photos of myself. And I took photos of myself the way I wanted
to
look. So the smile and all of that. And I used that to build my confidence. And once I had that confidence, I felt, yes, now I could go out. But I didn't set out to be someone going out there and, bossing around or feeling that I'm more important than everybody else. I presented myself as someone who is confident, not overly confident, but if you attempt to want to look down on me, then I'll tell you, or I'll let you know that, yeah, me too, I did.
You come to the table with your own strengths.
So that helped me a lot. And one of the things I also learned from the book was to practice listening to the BBC and trying to, so yes, I could speak well, but I could speak better after listening to the BBC and trying to sound like the anchors. So I'm listening to a news bulletin and I'm repeating after them as the news bulletin is rolling.
So how do the anchors sound? Tell me. Give me a secret.
You just have to sound yourself, but confident. So I'm listening to a BBC news item, they're reading, and I'm repeating after them.
Right.
Just so I have my own style. So I didn't have to use Lafa, but sound as authentic and as original as possible. I did same with CNN. At the time, CNN was available on UHF. So, it was, you take the antenna, you're trying to twist it and turn it, and just so you get a good enough picture to watch. So I did. It was back then we were having CNN headline news in Ghana and all of that. I learned a lot from those people by just observing them. And that was how I got to have a unique way of broadcasting, or the unique way of broadcasting that I have right now.
Did you ever think at the time that you would be a broadcaster?
The point where I felt this is something I could do was when I finished O-level. I was waiting at home. My results came. And I was the best English student in my school, in my year at the time. I actually...
Accra Academy?
Okapman School.
Okapman, okay.
I actually won this, call it the Founders Shield.
Do you still have it?
No, they take it back.
Oh,
yeah.
They should give you a replica so you keep it.
Let me go back to the story. I went to Okapman School. The first speech and prize giving day, there was this guy who won the best English student for the year, Tony Dello. I remember him so well.
I can tell.
And I saw the guy, and I encountered the guy, and I was like, I should win this.
Wow.
That was when I just gone to Okapman School, Form 1. So when eventually after O-level, I got a letter that I had won the Founders Shield, I felt so good. It was one of the happiest days in my life. So yes, I got the Opoku Champion Shield, and I was home and I was like, okay, so what's your best subject? English. And they say, play to your strengths. So if English is my best subject, then I should do something broadcasting. Then GBC said they were looking for presenters. This was a long time ago. I'm talking about like 92 thereabout. They were looking for newscasters. I applied. Nothing became of it. And then, well, that was that story. Then later on, I went to TV3, having read Dale Carnegie's book. I was feeling so confident. Dale Carnegie's book will tell you how to go past the receptionist. You just show up feeling so confident and telling them that I'm here to see this person. Often, if you have enough confidence, the secretary won't stop you.
There's a marketing theory about it by two authorities called Webster and Wind. They wrote about the 7 power brokers that you encounter in an organization. And they say, listen, you may have fever at the very top, but if you don't get past the very first one, it's like a difference. If you don't go past that one, you won't be the top. And they call them the gatekeepers.
So yeah,
actually, they extended to include even the car park attendant. They said those guys can tell you she's there.
Yeah.
Or he's there. So even if you go to the front desk and they tell you the person is not there, you know the person is there because the car park attendant told you, because you were nice to them.
so anyway, she bounced me. Yeah. But yeah, later on, I eventually got in. Another thing that I learned from this same book, it says, you have to learn to put your foot in the door. Eventually, I was working with a sachet water company, and I heard the announcement on TV that they were TV3 was looking for production assistants. Yeah, I've always wanted to be a broadcaster, a news anchor. So we're looking for production assistants.
So here we go.
I said, yeah, that's my foot in the door. So I applied, and at the time I was applying, there were a number of things we were asking that I didn't have everything. One of them being, you must be computer literate. I was like, what's computer literacy? And I said, no, you just should know something about the computer. So I went there feeling confident, and I knew some things about the computer, thanks to a friend who I'd call the big brother, Solomon Date. I was always hanging out with him. He was into IT, and so he showed me a few things. And so when they said, you must be computer literate. Yes.
I'm literate, yeah.
I'm literate. And I went there, and they asked me some questions, and I answered. Because, yes, I had that background. I had that bit of information. I never went to, at the time, it was fashionable for my peers, people to go for computer classes during vacations. My parents didn't send me to any computer classes, but I had a way of getting to know some things about the computer. And so when I got there, I said, I didn't have any certificates, but yes, I was computer literate. And that got me in. So now the story is all over the place. I've lost track of where I was.
So you got into TV3 as a production assistant and not as a broadcaster. You see, the principle is get your foot in the door. Now, when you got into the door, how did you branch to become a broadcaster?
So I got into TV3 the very first, during the interview. Then again, I'm going to drop, I keep dropping names, but yeah, these are significant people. Natilo Mumenu, he was sitting on the panel, and then he said, you have a good voice. When there's an opportunity for an audition, you should try.
Wow.
He told me that.
How did it feel?
I was telling myself, you don't know where it's going. You are steering into my zone. That's the whole idea.
Right.
I mean, I'm here, yes, to get my foot in the door.
You know why I love this part of the story? It means a lot to me because there are many people who have what it takes, but no one is giving them a chance. And you are saying, listen, if nobody's listening to you, if it means being a sweeper, if it means just being something that you don't think is high profile enough, just get in. And when you get in, keep looking around.
Get in.
Beautiful.
And since I got into, TV3, I got into Joy FM. There are a number of people I've seen who got in as cleaners. They are now accountants.
This is deep.
Yes. And I've seen that happen, and I'm like, so I feel so proud about these people. They are Joy. And
it's a beautiful story.
They entered that way. That guy must be celebrated someday. I mean, we need to bring him on TV sometime and tell his story.
If you just joined us, this is Springboard, your virtual university, getting to enjoy Israel Laryea like you've never seen him before. And if you've been listening, he's been endorsing the book How to Win Friends and Influence People. Not deliberately, because he doesn't relate to Dale Carnegie, but it's a book that changes life. And he's been talking about how those principles helped him move on from a place of low self-esteem to a place where he literally put his foot into the door and began to navigate his way into broadcasting. Now you are at TV3. Let's find out how you moved on from there, Israel.
So TV3, I got in, and again, the first day I started work, my boss, Paul Hemanathan, he's a Malaysian, he told me, if there's an opportunity for auditions, you should go for it. I got into TV3. 6 months later, I was anchoring the first bulletin, my first bulletin.
And it was news?
Yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah. 6 months. 6 months after getting into TV3.
The dream lives on.
So, and it's been like that. TV3, when I started, yes, find myself on a new level. I'm on TV, and for all the things I've had to go through, when I finished Okapman School, a distinction student, so came out with distinction. Then I went to Accra Academy. A-level was bad. I didn't fail, but compared to where I came from, I wasn't happy about it at all. And I think all of that just sank my self-esteem. So, struggling and all of that, and then eventually you get a new break. Going into TV3 as a production assistant was a huge break for me. Being on TV as a news anchor was even better. But then, so I took it one day at a time, being diligent in my work. It's one principle that I hold on to strongly. Being diligent in the way you do your things. So it means I'm taking my scripts and going through the scripts, rehearsing, making sure that when I'm on TV, I'm delivering, putting in the pauses at the right places and distinguishing myself, setting myself apart from the rest. Let me add something to here. I remember when I was at TV3, I started with Gideon Ayekwe. There was Emma Morrison, who was already there, and a few others. They were looking really good. And me, this lanky guy who appeared on TV, all I had going for me was my voice and the way I expressed myself. So I thought, okay. And Gideon, between the two of us, Gideon was a model. Really good. So they've hired two of you. It's Gideon, Israel. Gideon is looking all fine, and all the girls are going after him.
You didn't like that part of the story.
Then I told myself, what do I have? It's my voice.
Right.
So let me make the most of what I have. And so for me, that was the way I also distinguished myself. And so, yes, I could match Gideon boot for boot.
With the voice?
With the voice.
I'll tell you what, on the looks part, Louisa would definitely disagree with you on that. Very, very much so, and rightly so. Right.
But that was then. Yeah.
Right. You've come a long way.
Yeah.
I'll show pictures of you as you were and as you are now. Then we'll tell a story about God's grace.
Exactly.
Let's see where it goes from there.
So then I worked with TV3 for a number of years. It got to a point, I told myself, I had not been to the university at the time. I told myself I had to elevate myself because, upgrade myself because, yes, I'll be doing fine at the time with, you're on TV, you're anchoring the news and all of that. But it will get to a time when there will be people who will be doing the same thing as you are doing, and they will have some qualifications in addition. So it means you must upgrade.
I agree.
And it's something my mom told me. She was a middle school leaver and a typist at Cocoa Marketing Company. And she told me how these guys come from secondary school with just O-level, and they put them at a higher level. They make them senior officers and all of that. And so that also got into my head. So at that point, I was like, no, I need to upgrade. So I had to go to university, and I found one that would enable me work and school at the same time. But in my case at TV3, the news is in the evening, and that's when evening school is supposed to take place. So I went to my bosses to speak with them and to tell them that, I know there some of my peers, my colleagues who would take a break, go out to school in Cardiff and the rest. I'm not going out to school in Cardiff. I'm going to be right here. And so I'll be available to work with you whilst I school. This is the first time I'm saying this publicly. They declined it. They said, no, it's either you're working full-time or you're in school. Then I decided that, okay, let me just get another job then. So I told them, I have a lot of time on my hands. Can I take another job so that I'm working for you? And back then, working at TV3 was so cool. Look, I was working like 3 hours a day. My house was close, Osu and Kanda. And so I'll just get up from my house. I can be in the house the whole day, do whatever I wanted to do. And then around 3, 4, thereabouts, I could go to work. In a few hours, I was done with the bulletin and coming back home. So I was like, could I do something for the rest of the day, take another job? At that time, I had spoken with Komla Dumont. He came to TV3 for an interview, and when he was leaving, I encountered him, the late Komla Dumont. May his soul rest in peace. So I encountered him, and I said, Komla, I'm thinking about coming over to Joy. I didn't want a situation where some institution was coming to poach me or something. That was the thing that was happening at the time. So I approached, I said, I looked all around, said, it's Joy that I can go and work. So I saw Komla, and he says, oh, why not?
I'm sure he said with a very deep voice, actually, why not? I just can imagine it.
Why not?
Yeah, that's him, larger than life.
He arranged it, and they set up an interview panel for me. I went there, it was more like he told me that, look, it was more like a formality. You have to go through it. So went through, then I got the job. So that was when I went to TV3. I said, can I take another job so that I'll come and do this one? They said no. I said, okay. So I resigned. Then I went to Joy FM. Now I went to Joy FM as a part-timer. So I was doing the bulletins around Komla Dumont's morning show at the time. So I was working with him. Then after a while, then I decided, okay, I have a lot more time on my hands. Let me just make it permanent. So then I made it.
You were schooling at the time?
I was
schooling.
Still
schooling, okay.
I was schooling at the time. Those were some difficult times. So I would leave the Joy FM. Classes were supposed to start at 4. Sometimes I'm leaving at 4. I'm leaving the office at 4. I'll get to the school, and I would be waking up very early in the morning. I'm doing the first bulletin on Joy FM, 6 a.m. So I'm waking up around 4 a.m., leaving the house, getting to work, doing all that. And look, those were the times I was slaving. I was doing the legwork.
Describe that whole period in one word. Would it be slaving?
I'll call it slaving. Slaving for that reward that was going to come at the end of it.
Slaving for the reward that was going to come at the end of it. And I'm going to pause here because when we come back from this break, Israel will now unpack having slaved for the reward. What was next? And that is the part I really, really want to hear. If you just joined us, this is Springboard Virtual University. My guest for today is Israel Laryea. And I'm telling you, like I've never, ever heard him before. And he gave some breaking news right here on the show. He says he's never said this in public before. When we come back, I'm also going to tell you how Israel got me on Joy FM. Komla Dumont got him on Joy FM. He got me on Joy FM. Let's go for a break and let's have the Data is King segment with Nicole today. I also have a break to hear our sponsors. When we come back, let's hear the second part of Israel's story. Please don't go away.
Sacrifice. Did you know that during the 13 years reign of Alexander the Great, he fought over 20 battles and won all? The war strategies of Alexander continue to influence military strategies today. He was so successful because he was willing to die for his troops by sacrificing his comfort and leading them into every battle. As John Maxwell says, there is no success without sacrifice. You must give up to go up. You must keep giving up to stay up. Here are 3 things you must sacrifice as a leader. 1, time. 2, the spotlight. 3, self-interest. So our question for today is, what are you giving up today to move up, and what will you give up to stay up?
Don't be left out. Download the Pulse app from the App Store or Play Store to mash up all day, every day. You can also enjoy more mashup. Just buy the new Mega Bundle and get 3 gigabytes data, extra 400 megabytes for your social apps, and free MTN to MTN calls every Monday. So go ahead, feel the Pulse on MTN Pulse. Just be. We're good together. Everywhere you go.
There once was a man who had it all. He had skill, He had charisma. He was loved by all, but above all, he knew the importance of helping others, lifting others up. He knew the importance of giving other people an advantage so that they too would use that advantage to help others. All you need is that advantage that sets you apart from the rest. And when you discover that advantage, life's challenges don't seem so daunting anymore. That's where we come in. Enterprise, your advantage.
UMB was established in 1972 as the premier bank for the corporate and private sector in Ghana. From our very beginning, as the only Ghanaian bank serving all categories of businesses, we set a standard for excellence and innovation. Over the past 45 years, we've built a financially healthy and strong bank, demonstrated our commitment to our customers and to growing businesses, and exhibited originality and innovation at every turn. At UMB, our focus is built around people, service, products and technology. These are the key to our present success and our future triumphs. At UMB, we're poised to make a difference not only with our customers, but also in the banking industry. We invite you to share in our future. Our future starts now with you.
Welcome back to Springboard of Virtual University, and today Israel Laryea is making my day absolutely, and he shared so many principles. I'm trying to just distill which one is my favorite from the book that changed his life, the sister that pointed him to the BBC, learning by observation, repeating what the anchors say, the Founders Day Shield at Okwapiman, and computer literacy from his friend Solomon Dati. But the three things that are on my mind so far: being diligent in what you do, setting yourself apart from the rest, and my favorite, getting your foot in the door. Israel, you made my day with that one. But before we went on the break, Nicole was sharing about sacrifice, and I said she must have known what you will speak about today. She said sacrifice the time, sacrifice the spotlight. And how do those principles resonate with you? So
I'll just relate it to the slaving I had to do at the time, having to struggle, waking up that early and getting to work. And fortunately for me, I was married. And fortunately for me, I had a beautiful partner who understood me. And she also put in the sacrifice too at the time.
I'm a big fan of Louisa. I'm sure you know that.
Yeah, I know. So she also put in, she was understanding. And that was how we made this possible. So yes.
So marry the right person is key.
Yeah.
I like this. Yeah. And do nice photo shoots.
So yes, I put in a lot of work at the time. I mean, I would slave, and go into the trenches. At the time I came into Joy FM as a news anchor, a presenter. But then I quickly told myself, presenter, let me get dirty. So then that was when I said I'm available to do full-time. And doing full-time means that, yes, and I wasn't a trained journalist, but this was my opportunity to become a trained journalist and train or get the right training. We're talking about Joy FM. Joy FM at the time, and really, Joy FM is the ish. They're right there at the top. So yes, if I make it at Joy FM, I can make it anywhere. After doing Joy FM for a while, then imagine TV3 came back and said, can you come and do part-time with us? Which was what I requested in the beginning.
And was declined.
It was declined. They came back and they said, can we have you come do part-time for us? So I was doing radio on Joy FM, in the morning, and then when I close, then I go to TV3 and go and anchor the news there. So
I remember those days very well.
At the time, look, I was working with the two most influential media houses in the country, doing radio and doing TV, and it wasn't common. In fact, I think I was about the only one doing that because the media houses were not allowing it. Yeah, if he's out.
It sounds impossible today.
Today, yeah. But at some point, after doing it for a while, it became, you got to hear people doing that. But then at the time, why would Joy FM want their person to go and work for another media house? Or why would TV3 want to let their person go and work? So I remember when I got to Joy FM, one of the first days, morning, or also on the morning show with Komla Dumont, somebody called in and said, Israel Laryea used to be at TV3. What is he doing on Joy FM? And then Komla Dumont said he's on loan.
I love that.
So anyway, I was working with the two institutions, and yes, that also required a lot of sacrifice because then at this time you don't have much time to do anything. But fortunately for me, I was also one person who wasn't so keen on hanging out with boys, or I think it also helped me to remain focused on the family. So I would work all through the week, and then at the end of the week, or if I had any break, I was spending time with the family. So you find me home on weekends, and that's been a part of me for a really long time. On weekends, I'm home. I have a wonderful family. I have 3 kids, and we bond so well.
I was going to ask, are they your buddies?
Yeah.
That's a blessing.
Yeah. I spend a lot of the time with the kids, teaching them things that I couldn't get growing up.
Is it being influenced by what you think you missed?
Yes. Growing up, I learned how to ride a bike really late, much later on in life. But I used to admire all these, kids who were riding their bikes, and I didn't have a bike.
Because we were the girls. Just to pull your legs. Just reminding you of.
Because my parents couldn't afford a bike.
Right.
Okay, so it was something I admired. So when I had the chance, I thought, let me teach the kids how to ride a bike. And there was so much fulfillment for me watching them ride their bikes and paddling and all over the place. And I was like, wow, thank God for how far He's brought me.
My religious studies lecturer, Reverend Cheche, had a very interesting terminology. He says life is either chin-chin soso or soso chin-chin. And his description of chin-chin soso was suffer to gain. And soso chin-chin was get it easy in the beginning and difficult later. Do you think that the choices that you've made would end up being chin-chin soso?
Yes.
Help us to understand.
So I feel, for now, I think what I have going for me now is the name. And this name will open so many doors for me. The decisions I've taken in life have been strategic. And they've all worked out for good. One of the things I'm keen on is savings, cutting costs. So I'm always looking out for ways to make the most of whatever I have.
So personal financial management.
So, and there's something I say all the time. It's not so much about what you earn or how much you earn. It's about how you spend. So you may earn, what? $100,000. But if your lifestyle is such that you're having to spend $100,000, then you're poor. But you may earn 10,000, but your lifestyle and the decisions you've made in life would require that you're spending 2,000, 5,000. You're rich.
Israel, are you rich?
No. I won't say rich, but I'm also not poor. So I believe I'm going to get to the point where the wealth is going to come. For now, I've put the things in place to enable the wealth come.
This is Springboard Virtual University. If you just joined us, this is a solemn moment distilling the life journey of Israel Laryea in a way I've never, ever heard before. And he shared some absolutely amazing thoughts on this show. Israel, I'm going to come to how you got me on radio, but tell me about the CNN award. That must have been one of the most visible highlights of your entire life.
Oh, yeah.
Tell me about it.
I remember that night so well. I first got a call from CNN, and I remember the lady, she's called Maggie Eels. She called me and says, "You have been nominated for the CNN African Journalist of the Year award." Wow.
Where were you? What were you doing?
I was driving. I was driving.
Were you wearing a seatbelt? Were you safe?
I was driving at the time, and I remember so well. I was around the Liberation Circle when the call came. From then on, heading towards the office, my goodness, it felt so good. It felt so good because, look, this was the first time Joy FM was going to get that award, or anybody at Joy FM was going to get that award. So yes, it felt really good. And I was like, really? And especially because, I'd admired CNN for a very long, everybody has admired CNN for a very long time. And then this was going to happen. And this was going to happen on home ground. You are playing home. Because a lot of the time, when there was CNN, the CNN awards were organized. It was organized in another country, and then we'll hardly hear of it. They'll go and pick up the award and come back. So on the night, everybody was watching. People were watching at home. It was on live TV, national TV. And I was called, went up there to pick up the award. And I was telling the people then, it felt like Zuma Nelson.
Wow.
Having a bout outside. It's 1 a.m. here in Ghana, and people will stay up to watch. I felt that way. I was like, yes, people have stayed up to watch me like Zuma Nelson going to fight.
How was it for your family? How was it for your friends? How was it for...
It was good. Oh, and I got a call from then Nana Kufwa. He called me, the president. Now, President Kufwa, he called me and said, "What's your name? What's your name?"
For those who don't understand it, you have honored us. You have honored us. Those were the words of the current president, right?
It was President Kufwa time. And so President Kufwa was there. So after everything else, I went to him. He was right there, so I went to him. I have that photo. Then I presented the award to him.
So that's the photo on your screen right now of Israel presenting the award to President Kufwa. And I'm sure you didn't sleep that night. You didn't wash your hands. Talking about President Kufwa, I'll finish the CNN
Well,
story.
then later, Nana Kufwa called me.
Was he Foreign Minister or Attorney General, one of them?
He was Foreign Minister, I believe.
Right.
Yeah, at the time. So yes, it felt good.
Right.
And then when I got back to work, I was away because the event was organized and they took all of us away from our conference. They sent us to Holiday Inn at the time, all the finalists. So after everything else, when I came back, and Kwesi Chung got me to go around all the units at multimedia. They sent me to a dome to go and talk about my award.
Wow, big man. It wasn't easy.
Yeah, it was good. So it was good.
There's one part I must get about this award thing. So after winning such a huge high, tell me about your next day back on the grind, your next day back at work, doing the routine stuff. How did you feel?
I just felt it's just an award. But this is the work that has to be done.
That's what got you the award in the first place anyway.
Yeah. This is the work that has to be done. And there's now a lot of pressure on you to be even better. I mean, you can't retrogress. at this point. Look, seeing, so anything you do, they're going to mark you by that. That's the standard. You'll say, how can a CNN award winner, put out stuff like this? Or, so there was a lot of pressure on me, to deliver and excel. And I believe, I held my own. And it also influenced a number of things that I had to do. If you are putting me in a situation where it was going to be difficult for me to deliver, probably because the resources were not available, I resisted it.
Let me tell you why you hold a very special place in the hearts of the Springboard family. So, in the year 2007, it was President Kufwa's birthday, and you organized for young people. You were fond of a lot of innovations on radio then. I recall that you had this Christmas Day interview with Pastor Mensa Otable. Was it New Year's Day? New Year's Day. It was such a huge thing. One day you got him to sing Redemption Song or something like that. I recall that was a very big thing. You used to do every year on New Year's Day with Pastor Otable, and it was such a huge thing. And then on the president's birthday, you gathered young people to sing and say a poem to him on radio, and everyone was listening. And my son, my firstborn son, Jojo, was fortunate to be one of the boys telling the poem to...
I had to follow my network.
Charlie, so he called me and I brought Jojo there, and I was very excited. I was just sitting down listening to the show. And before the show, before the children got to do it, something happened. For some reason, that day, nobody from the sports team showed up. Was it a holiday or something? There must have been a reason.
It was a holiday.
Or it fell on a Saturday or something, but nobody showed up for it. Was a holiday, yes.
It was a holiday. So typically on holidays, we don't have the full complement of the team.
Topsy-turvy or something like that.
Yes.
Yeah. So the sports guys, for some reason, didn't come. And then you said, we don't have anybody to do sports. And I said, what's sports? It's really no big deal. Maybe it's about putting your foot in the door. So I just said, let me present the sports. And so you said, can you do it? I said, sure. So I went online, got the sports stories. I love sports anyway, so it wasn't too difficult. Got the sports stories gathered, and you gave me 5 minutes, and I presented the sports. And programs director Kufwa was listening at home and was like, are you serious? Why is that guy not on radio? So he called afterwards and said, hey, we should talk about this. Yep. And I dodged him. A year later, on the 4th of August 2008, we hosted our first Springboard, guess where? On Joy FM.
That's it.
So I've never said this in public before, but Israel, I want to say a big, big, big thank you to you for opening the door for me to enter. And if you listen to if you ever get to meet anyone who says the Springboard broadcast first on Joy FM and subsequently on Joy Prime on the internet has touched their lives, don't ever forget, Israel, that your handiwork, your input, your sacrifice is part of the reason why somebody's life has been touched.
Thank you.
And I believe with all my heart that not everything that you do shows in your hands as reward. No. But for every one of those young people who listens to me, or anyone who listens to our broadcast who says something positive has happened to them, it becomes a blessing for yourself, for Louisa, for your family, for your children, and generations after you. So, I say thank you to you, Israel. Thank you, and thank you again.
You're welcome, and thank you too. And at the time I called you in, or I asked you to do it, you were doing me a favor.
That's funny. It sounds almost funny.
Yeah.
Because I was doing it because I just thought it was fun, and I enjoyed it.
You are doing me a favor. But yes, you're right. There are many instances where we do things for people that really wouldn't cost us anything. But the rewards and the blessings that come with it, not immediately, but much later on, are so immense. And you don't have to expect that this is going to happen immediately, or, you see, do it and take it for granted. I mean, forget about it. But I believe that the blessing, if it doesn't come to you directly, may come to your children or your children's children sometime many generations on.
I'm going to read you your 10 lessons that I've learned from you today in no particular order, just as I enjoy this conversation with you. So number one, and when I come back to you, I'm going to ask you for your closing thoughts. But number one, be diligent in the way you do your things. Number two, set yourself apart from the rest. Number three, my favorite for obvious reasons, put your foot
In the door.
I love it because for some reason I think it would speak to many people who are struggling on the journey of life, especially with rejection. Put your foot in the door. Number four, imitate the experts. You talked about just watching the anchors and imitating them. But number five, develop your own authentic and unique style. Imitate the experts, but develop your own style. Number six, spend time with the family. Yeah. That must be your favorite.
Yeah.
Number seven, sacrifice for what you believe in. Number eight, make strategic choices.
And it must run through your entire life at any point
throughout
in
your
time.
life. Number nine, personal financial management.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And number 10, every award or success brings pressure to be even better.
True.
And the bonus one, what you do for people and take for granted could bring you great reward in future.
That's also very true.
Israel, sign up for us today.
I think sign off and say that's it for the...
I like that. You see the anchor in you. You know, before you sign off, when is your birthday?
7th October.
Last year it was a big thing. You're so big on social media. How do you manage it?
Well, I just felt that it's a way of having to also stay relevant.
And connect with the audiences.
Yeah. And connect with them because they see you on TV and often it's like you're so, distant. But then when you're on social media, people send you messages.
And you respond.
And you respond. I'm unable to respond to all of them.
But you stay with them.
But yeah, as often as possible, as much as possible, I like to respond. And it's also about touching people's lives. People tend to appreciate these things so much.
And strategic choices.
On
a lighter note, you know the Hamperville campaign you did not too long ago.
Oh yeah,
it was so successful, and my Father's Day was great. The family did me show, Papa.
I'm happy.
And on top of all the beautiful items they bought, guess what was one Hamperville? I said, "Oh, Israel, you do all."
I was impressed when you put it. I was like,
said,
okay.
"Oh, yes."
I was actually doing something to help this young lady, who she's a musician, she's an up and coming artist, but. What I like about her is the fact that she knows that, look, this music business is not something that you can survive on.
For now.
So she feels that, for now. So she feels that, let me get something also going on the side. And so once she came up with Hamperville, I thought,
so you use your networks to give her a launching pad.
Yeah.
That was beautiful.
The platform.
That was beautiful.
And it's something that I'm sure she's going to be grateful for a long time.
Talking about that, I want to use my birthday and my network to also give some institution a launching pad. And this Friday, the 16th of July, is my birthday.
All right.
And I really think it's not about myself. If I ask myself, what do I want to be in life? I just want to be a good Christian. That's all. It's simple. I just want to be a good Christian. And that will be all I want from life. And I look back and I say, the Scripture Union gave me the foundations of my Christian faith.
So you're not.
And
there,
they don't get.
It's somehow the Christian Union has impacted
Scripture Union.
So many people
in a big way,
including my parents.
Wow.
Yeah, my dad, my mom. They talk about Scripture Union, and they have friends.
Right. Yes. So what I want to do with my birthday is to go on a 25-kilometer walk in the morning, and then encourage people to donate 25 CDs to the Scripture Union. Just imagine if people did it. Just and hashtag thank you SU. Thank you SU. I just think it would be nice. What do you think?
I'm going to join you.
Oh, Israel. Thank you.
I'm going to join you.
Thank you.
Let's work together.
So that all those who have benefited from Scripture Union can just say thank you. I mean, I know a number of churches support them, including my church supports them monthly. But I want individuals to also say thank you to them in a very unique way. Just mobile number, just say thank you, Scripture Union.
Because they birthed a lot of people. I mean,
I'm glad you are joining me on this.
Yeah, a lot of Christian leaders
too good.
came from Scripture Union.
Indeed. Israel, I could stay with you all day, but what will be your closing thoughts on the show today?
I would just say people should be diligent. Just be diligent in all your dealings, because that is what is going to set you apart. There are lots of people, there's a lot of mediocrity in the system. People are just doing things anyhow. So if you're going to be the one who's going to be a bit more diligent in the way you do your things, it's going to set you apart. And that is what you need for people to notice you. If you are in the crowd, just like everybody else, it's hard to notice you. But if you're able to set yourself apart,
that is the secret. And that is your principle number 1 and 2 put together. Be diligent in everything you do and set yourself apart. Thank you very much, Israel Laryea. And this has been a beautiful interview, and I've enjoyed it tremendously.
Thank you too.
Interspersed with breaking news. This is Springboard, your virtual university today, with the privilege of getting behind the scenes in the engine room with Israel Laryea, things you would never hear anywhere but on Springboard, your virtual university. We continue in the engine room series next week with another explosive, insightful, and inspiring interview. I want to say a big thank you to MTN, Pulse, UMB Bank, the Enterprise Group, and of course to the Multimedia Group for creating these platforms for us, and the Graphic Communications Group. On Tuesday, you will find the full transcript of Israel's conversation in the Graphic Business on page 8, and enjoy it while you read. Team Springboard says a big thank you to you. My name is Albert Okran, saying God bless you, and God bless you.